But we'll keep the vote open, so she'll be able to weigh in on these bills. Unless it changes the outcome, I don't anticipate that's going to be the case. So she'll be able to take a vote later.
Sure, it's on the timer.
Yeah, am I being timed? Okay, good. Okay, so let's start. We've got two withdrawals, one from Senator Love, one from Senator Lewis Young. So, these bills get reported out as withdrawn bills. So we do need to take a form, yes, not unfavorable, move to approve the withdrawals. They go in as,
Yeah.
how's it reported? Okay. Senator Kagan, on both Senate Bill 98 and Senate Bill 380, did you have a motion?
Move unfavorable.
Second.
Do you have to say anything about it being withdrawn unfavorable? Can you add the word withdrawn to your motion?
Unfavorable as withdrawn by the sponsor.
Okay, so it's a motion, what she said on the table, a second from Senator Augustine. And I will advise the world about how we voted, because we had that discussion last week with the captioning. Okay, all in favor of the motion from the vice chair, raise your hand. All opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries unanimously. Okay. We're next going to move to Senator Kagan, Vice Chair Kagan's bill, Senate Bill 138. April, tell us about the bill.
Okay. Senate Bill 138, Public Safety, Maryland 911 Board, and Maryland Department of Emergency Management Regulatory Authority. This bill authorizes the Maryland Department of Emergency Management and the Maryland 911 Board, which is housed within the department, to adopt regulations to implement and enforce the requirements of state law. There are no amendments.
Okay. Senator Kagan, you want to add anything or move?
MDEM, yeah, this was, it was my bill to make MDEM a cabinet department, and when we did that, there was a little loophole, and we didn't allow them to make their own regs that we then get to oversee. Senator Washington, I think you're still chair of that committee, as I used to be. So MDEM asked me to put in this bill, so I'd like to move favorable, although I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, we have moved favorable. Second, there are no amendments, so bill's being moved favorable clean. Senate Bill 138, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion on Senate Bill 138 carries unanimously. We will next move to Senate Bill 236. April.
Senate Bill 236, Maryland Department of Planning Modernization. This departmental bill from the Maryland Department of Planning makes various changes to state law regarding 1, the election precinct boundary data, 2, county water supply, sewerage, and solid waste disposal plans, 3, population projections, 4, real property information, 5, obsolete reporting requirements, 6, capital facilities planning information and access, 7, authorized funding for regional planning projects, and 8, geographic classification standards. As a reminder, the department sort of billed this as a cleanup bill. A lot of it sort of repeals sections of code that are either obsolete or are not things that the department has ever done or is currently doing. And then some of the other provisions have to do with just sort of how they're receiving information, updating, modernizing standards for that. There are no amendments that have been offered by members, but I did want to call your attention to the City of Gaithersburg recommended an amendment in their testimony requesting current provisions that allow the department to use population figures developed by the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission be changed to instead reference figures developed by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, which may be more comprehensive. I did run this by the department, and they agree with that and would accept that as a friendly amendment if anybody wanted to offer it.
I know this is going to be a newsflash to all of you, but as the senator for Gaithersburg, I'd be happy to offer that amendment. But I also thought there were other questions that were possible amendments to this bill. Am I not remembering that correctly? I feel like I messaged you.
Okay, I apologize. I think there was some discussion about repealing Senator Augustine, refresh our memory a little bit on
Yeah,
this one.
there was some discussions around the maps and sort of like what was being done with the maps. I met with the the secretary and talked about it with her, and I'm perfectly fine. It was me. I did talk with her about it, and I'm fine to like move forward with this, with whatever changes that Madam Vice Chair would like to do too. I'm fine.
Okay, any other just questions, comments? Yeah, let's go Senator Hester, then we'll go back to Senator Kagan.
Please.
Well, I was just going to say that April shared with me this email from the secretary that kind of answers the questions that I had about the maps. There was another issue we haven't talked about yet, which I believe Senator Gallion has an amendment for. It's a different bill.
That's the planning.
Which bill are we on?
You're thinking one of the other. You're looking at that, Vice Chair Kagan, you want to weigh in?
I had a note, and I also sent some notes to April. I had a question about 5-503. Could we possibly just hold this so I can refresh my, I have a note on
I
this.
think you're looking at Senate Bill 234.
I have notes on Senate Bill 236 as well.
Okay, we don't have to, we're not so time crunched yet. I mean, if somebody wants to clarify as I say it, but if we're talking about different bills, are you sure that your notes are 236, not 234?
My note is on 236,
Okay.
page 5, section 5-103, and I put some notes in about that section that I just forwarded to April for her.
Okay, let's just hold it for next voting session.
It's not this bill. so.
Yeah, I mean,
What I
April's
just
saying it's
sent
not
you,
that.
April, was to this bill. I'm in this bill. I'm in this, in my notes on Senate Bill 236.
We can chat.
Okay,
Okay.
let's just chat offline here. Okay, let's, Stacy, let's go to the next bill, the Senate Bill 248, which is your bill.
Senate Bill 248, Department of Service and Civic Innovation, Maryland Corps Program Service Year Option Pathways Revisions. This administration bill merges the Maryland Service Year Option Pathway Fund and the Young Adult Service Year Option Pathway Fund into a single program fund. It updates compensation requirements by providing that the minimum wage requirement be that of the county or state, whichever is greater. It alters the qualifications for the Young Adult Service Year Option Pathway by expanding the age range to between 18 and 24 years old, provides that an individual hold a high school diploma but not specifically a Maryland high school diploma. It alters the qualifications for the Maryland Service Year Option Pathway to require applicants to be Maryland residents versus giving preference for Maryland residents. It alters the award distribution requirements to a single $6,000 cash stipend versus allowing them to put money in a Maryland 529. And then there's some minor technical corrections by removing the references to the inactive Executive Fellows Program, renames the Governor's Volunteer Council to the Governor's Commission on Service and Volunteerism, and integrates the commission into the Department of Service and Civic Innovation. There were no amendments and there was no opposition at the hearing.
Okay, questions for Stacy? Discussion? Motions? A favorable motion from the Vice Chair, second from Senator Augustine. Again, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, favorable, clean, on Senate Bill 248, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries unanimously, which takes us to you, Devin, on Senate Bill 255.
Sure, thank you. Senate Bill 255, Military Department Chief of Staff and Aides Appointment Authority. This departmental bill from the Military Department authorizes the Adjutant General of the Military Department, instead of the Governor, to appoint a Chief of Staff and Aides. The bill further establishes that these individuals serve at the pleasure of the Adjutant General rather than the Governor. There were no amendments and no opposition to the bill.
Okay, we get favorable from Senator Watson. That was, okay, second from Senator Brooks. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of the motion on Senate Bill 255, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Senate Bill 255 clean carries, which brings us to our final bill, Senate Bill 266. April?
Senate Bill 266, Local Comprehensive Planning and State Economic Growth, Resource Protection and Planning Policy, Planning Principles. This departmental bill from the Maryland Department of Planning replaces the 12 visions that a local planning commission must implement through a local jurisdiction's comprehensive plan with 8 planning principles. Correspondingly, the bill alters identical text that makes up the state economic growth, resource protection, and planning policy in the same manner so that the policy consists of the 8 planning principles, and also references the new policy under specified criteria for state funding of growth-related transportation projects that are not in priority funding areas. There are amendments in your packet. Amendment number 573922/1 from Senator Hester and Amendment 963926/1 from Senator Gallion. They're identical. There is a reprint in your packet. Both would essentially add the current public participation vision as a 9th planning principle.
Okay, would either Senator Gallion or Senator Hester want to elaborate on their identical amendments?
That's great minds thing. So we brought this up, a couple of us, I think, during this hearing. When they switched to, I guess they call it visions now, they cut it down to like 8 things. And it sounded like the department wanted to include the public participation part under the equity part and kind of group all that together. But I honestly feel like the public participation part is so important that it should still be its standalone. So that's what the amendment would do, is to add that back and under those visions, the public participation, saying citizens are active partners in the planning and implementation. And in my amendment, I had that listed as number 1, just because I feel like it's pretty important.
Okay.
So I'd like to move that amendment at the appropriate time.
Anything you want to add, Senator Hester? Or okay, so we have a motion favorable on the, we'll call it the Gallion-Hester amendment, and a second from Hester. Yes.
Just quickly, just a suggestion. So if you look at the reprints, we're on page 6 of the voting packet. Just to make this parallel construction with all the new principles, I would suggest adding the word ensure before citizens there, because everything else is a verb. So land, optimize land productivity, transportation, prioritize. So public participation, it should be ensure citizens are active partners, or there should be some other verb there.
Okay, is everybody okay with that technical? Yes, we're on page 6, reprint, and she's proposing to insert the word ensure before the word citizens.
May I?
Mike,
offer-
ask April is it
Yep.
about
April, will you
that
yield?
suggestion or an additional?
It is an amendment, proposed amendment to the amendment.
Okay, go on.
The word
Suggest it.
citizens is not inclusive of everyone who lives in Maryland. So whether that's residents or Marylanders, I don't think you have to be a citizen to be an active partner in planning and implementation of community initiatives.
Okay, so what's the substitute word you're suggesting?
I gave 2 offers of residents or Marylanders, whatever the committee might think is appropriate. Senator Washington?
You live in the area.
Okay, discussion. So we're okay with the word ensure. The question is the word citizens. Let's get a little discussion going. Otherwise, we could take a vote.
I think we can, hearing no opposition to it.
Yeah,
See, it's friendly.
Okay. Okay, what we're going to vote on, and we can take a roll call if there's any confusion. We're going to use the word ensure residents, not just that, instead of citizen.
That residents.
What do you think?
Yeah, ensure that residents.
Ensure that residents are. That will be what we'll be voting on unless somebody has another idea. Everybody okay with at least taking a vote on that particular? Okay, so it's an amendment to the amendment. So we can do that. Okay, you're going to move to amend the amendment as we just discussed.
Ensure that residents, so move the amendment.
Okay, is there a second? Second from Senator Augustine. Any discussion about this amendment to the amendment? Okay, is there any dissent? Are we going to need a roll call, or is this going to, give me a little? Okay, Okay, we can do it. Okay, all in favor of the amendment to the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? That amendment to the amendment carries unanimously. Now we have in front of us this piece of legislation as amended. We were talking about Senate Bill 266 as amended. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Right, so now we have the bill as amended in front of us. Senator Gallion, you want to move the bill as amended? Senate Bill 266 favorable as amended, second. Senator Washington, discussion. All in favor of Senate Bill 266 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously, and that completes our work for today and for the week, and enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend.